Black Lives Matter is sweeping the nation. Just a couple of days ago, we had Blackout Tuesday, to where everyone went on their Instagram and posted just a black square to express solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement and their fight against systemic racism in the police department and the disproportionate killing of black men. Today, we look at that claim and see whether or not it holds any water. That and more on this episode of The WireTap. Hello everyone, my name is JD.
And this is Logan.
And this is The WireTap. Thank you for joining us today. Now, as you know, we haven't made an episode in a while. If you follow us on Twitter, which you totally should, put a live video up I did a couple days ago, giving my quick thoughts on the whole George Floyd situation and the riots that have ensued. And none of this is acceptable. This is the whole situation is bad. The whole situation is violation of people's natural rights, which we'll get into here in a little bit. Both what the officers did to George Floyd, as well as what these rioters have done in response in protest. Now,
that's not the case for all.
It's not the case for all.
It's not the case for all.
Because, apparently, protests don't have to be peaceful.
According to Chris Cuomo, he is a lawyer, He said not too many of the protests are a problem. The problem is that we are seeing that your fellow citizens are forced to take to the streets. Please show me where these protesters are supposed to be polite and peaceful. So he said that basically that these protesters do not have to be peaceful. Nowhere in the First Amendment does it say they have to be peaceful, according to Chris Cuomo. And he further went on to say that it is the police officers who are required to be peaceful.
Here's the thing. It doesn't have to say in the First Amendment that it has to be peaceful, because if they're violent, they are by extension a violation of the law. They're by extension a violation of the principles that America was founded upon, that a government is supposed to protect, which is life, liberty, and property, as John Locke originally puts it. Now, they changed it to pursuit of happiness, ironically enough, to prevent slave owners from claiming their slaves were their property, and that by de facto gave them permission to have slaves, that emboldened their institution of slavery. That's why that was changed to pursuit of happiness. But as John Locke writes in his what were based on life, liberty, and property, those are the three fundamental functions of government.
Now, besides, Chris Cuomo is still wrong in the First Amendment to quote the right of the people to peacefully assemble.
I mean, that as well, the fact that it does say peacefully assemble. There is no right to expression in the First Amendment. There's right to free speech. There is no right to just expression, which is what you see a lot. And that's what this is. There is no right to protest. There is a right to peacefully assemble. There is a right to petition. Notice how all of these are democratic. In the democratic, it's not that we're a democracy, but that they are giving powers directly to the people, to the government. But notice how all of these are peaceful. They're all diplomatic and democratic. None of them are violent. There has not been any significant change, despite what they will tell you, in this nation that has happened through violent protests. Through war, yes, but war is not a violent protest.
That is what they are feeding you currently.
But that's what they're telling you.
They are feeding you that it has to be violence because that is the only way that anything has ever changed in this country.
In America, which is not true. And we've seen this comparison to the Boston Tea Party. The Boston Tea Party was a very succinct, very precise attack against the British for their policies and their taxation, dumping their tea into the harbor. That was a very clear message to the British Empire. That was a very succinct act in specific response to their taxation, to their rule. This is nothing like that. You're going out and destroying neighborhoods, the majority of which are black and minority. You're going out torching those against innocent people who have had nothing to do with this, who are in no way guilty, but because America is systemically racist, they must be. They must be part of the problem. Because you say that it's systemically racist, which we're not going to address today in this episode. Maybe it might be the next one. I don't know. But your claim that America is systemically racist is not proven fact. That's the bottom line. It's not proven fact. And that does not give you the right to go out and violate other people's rights to their property.
To their life.
And putting their life in danger. Not only are you literally physically putting their life in danger, some of you, by beating people to bloody pulps in the streets.
But shooting people.
Yeah, and shooting people. You saw this with David Dorn a couple days ago.
I guess Trump was right there in his tweet.
Yeah.
Where there is looting, there is shooting.
And You're not only literally putting their life at risk, you're putting their livelihood at risk by destroying their property.
Not only the business owner, but the people who work there. You have employees there that are working, and you don't know if that business is going to come back, if they're going to move maybe somewhere else.
They're already reeling from coronavirus, and you just destroyed it. You just destroyed your own neighborhoods.
Congratulations.
You've had multiple police officers shot over the course of, this week. It's been this week, over the course of the last couple days, in St. Louis, in New York, in Dallas. You've had just mass chaos all across the nation, but we're told that they're majorly peaceful. The majority of these are peaceful, or these are being infiltrated by white supremacists. In what world does that even make sense? The majority of these are white supremacists coming out to protest the death of a black man.
You want to know what? We've talked about this before. The amount of white supremacists.
Yes.
And the numbers of the KKK and all of those groups. I'm watching the news. There's a lot more people out there than just the white supremacists that are doing this.
Yeah. And the KKK is kind of like your granddaddy's racist group. New young people aren't going to that if they are white supremacists. There are groups that we don't even know about out there. White supremacist groups that haven't even made themselves known on a national level. That if you're young and you buy into this evil ideology, that you're going to. The KKK is just basically a caricature at this point because it's so overused.
It's like a symbol, I guess you could say.
It's just become a cliche that whenever you think of white supremacy, you think of the KKK. It's dead. It's gone. There are less than 6,000 people in a nation of over almost 330 million people that are in the KKK. There's only 6,000 people out of the entire nation.
And I saw a great quote the other day on Twitter, and I forget who it was that made the quote, but they said that racism in America is not alive. It is on life support.
Yeah.
And honestly,
and
that's the best way, I think, to describe it.
That is by far the best way to describe it. Now, in this episode, I know that we've already been ranting for a while, but I wanted to specifically address the claim that these people are making. And the claim keeps shifting. The narrative keeps shifting because they don't want to be pinned down to one thing because they never want to be proven wrong. But it doesn't matter because they are wrong. In 2014, the narrative was that white cops were disproportionately shooting black men, black unarmed men.
Yeah.
That narrative was proven false. And the narrative has since then shifted to where it's not just black unarmed men, it's just black men in general, and it's not just white cops, it's the police in general, and then it's just the cops in the black community.
And then it's
cops are disproportionately killing the black community.
And then it's just minorities in general.
Yeah, and then it's just become minorities in general. Anybody who's not white, that's who the police are systematically killing, even black and minority cops, which, I don't know, explain that one. I'm sure that you liberal eggheads out there will find a way. But I wanted to specifically address the claim that is most prevalent, and that is that cops disproportionately shoot black and black unarmed men. Black people and black unarmed men. I wanted to specifically address that. Now, the thing is the most comprehensive database that we currently have, which, God help me, comes from the Washington Post.
Oof.
And I'm sure that whenever they started this up, they started this in 2015. And I'm sure that whenever they started this database up, that they were hoping that it would provide a lot of substance and a lot of evidence for their political leanings.
Provide the juggernaut that they needed.
It would provide that knockout blow that they needed to prove systemic racism in policing. It's done the exact opposite. It's actually become something that conservatives can look at and support their case with.
They haven't discontinued it yet?
And they haven't discontinued it. It's updated, I believe, every day.
Well, I guess hats off to them for keeping it.
And you know what? I mean, I'll give them credit for that. There is no federal database for this. There is no FBI, BJS, any kind of statistics that is extensive as this. This is the best that we have as of right now. I believe that they are supposed to be trying to create one like this.
Well, of course, government is always the answer. If you watched Joe Biden yesterday during one of his speeches, his problem to all of this is he wants to create a race commission.
Yeah, and that's something that
AKA
has been
kick the can down the road.
Called for a while. And in fact, in an upcoming episode, we will be looking at the Black Lives Matter policies and their 6 points in this plan that they wanted. It came out 4 years ago in 2016 for their plan for America. But we'll get to that in a later episode. But the point is that the Washington Post has the most comprehensive database on this for police shootings of people in general. It's not just black people. It is all police shootings, all police deaths, actually. It doesn't even just have to be... I think it is just shootings, if I remember right. But the point is that it's the most comprehensive thing that we have. It does not, however, record the race of the officer, which would be a very interesting statistic to look at. But it does not record the race of the officer. It just has the information for the victims, their age, their sex, their race, whether or not they were armed or not. And it specifically lists what they were armed with, whether they had a gun or a knife or if they were unarmed. But I wanted to look at this in conjunction to give you some background, to give you a little more clarity on what all this is when comparing it to the FBI statistics for these years. 2015. We'll go back to 2015.
Good year.
Unfortunately, FBI statistics only go up to 2018. Most federal government statistics are behind by about 2 years. They have come out with their preliminary 2019 report, but it is only for January through June. So it's not a full year. It doesn't really help us. So in 2015, there were 497 white people total shot by police, or killed by police. How about that? Black, 258. So it's half. Out of those, 32 white people were unarmed, 38 black were unarmed. So here
it's that 6.
Here you have. So yeah, you're right. 6 more unarmed black people who were killed by police than white people. However, this is the only year in the Washington Post database that this is the case. Now, I did specifically men. 31 unarmed white men were killed 2015. 36 unarmed black men were killed. So that's a spread of 5. But you've heard this claim doubtless times that, well, black people only compose about 13% of the population. So why are they, why are they 2 times more likely than white people to be shot or killed by police? Well, it has to do with the fact that despite this is according to the FBI, even though the black people are only about 13% of the population, we'll take that claim, they compose about 26.6%, at least here in 2015, of total crime. So that is literally twice their population of total crime that they're committing. Of violent crime, all violent crime, which includes murder and manslaughter, negligent manslaughter, I believe, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. Those are the 4 that the FBI uses for their violent crime. 41% of all violent crime and 51% of murders in 2015. Their arrests, I did the statistic. I thought it was interesting. This isn't one that I've really seen anywhere else. This was my own curiosity. I wanted to see what their arrest percentage was by their population numbers in America, and it's interesting. In fact, what I'll do is I'll bump down here to the averages. I took the averages from 2015, 16, 17, and 18. Averaged it all together. So, we'll just go, and I did it for 3. I included Asians in here to compare to another minority group in America. White, 69.3% of total crime, which, I mean, I guess, kind of makes sense. We're 76% of the total population. Black is 27%
Double.
of total crime, which is double their population percentage. Asian is 1.21% of total crime. For violent crime, white, 54.7%, black, 42.1%. The murder percentage on average over these 4 years, 2015 to 2018, 44.7% for white, 52.5% for black. That's not even close.
Yeah.
That's not even close. The average over those 4 years is far and away larger. That is a spread of 8 points. Just under 8 percentage points. Black, higher murder rate than white. Asian, 1.25%. Each year, it's interesting, whenever you go through the years 2015 to 2018, the percentage of total crime for Asians remains surprisingly stable. Which, if there is the systemic racism against black people, why would it not apply to other minorities? Why would it not apply to Asians? Total percent of crime, 2015, Asians, 1.2, 2016, 1.2, 2017, 1.2, 2018.
So they ask why the police, there's these police shootings. Well, I hate to tell you, it might just be the unspoken rule, but when you commit a crime and when you commit a violent crime, you have just elevated your risk of possibly being shot by a police officer.
And that's exactly what the problem is there are far more interactions with police for violent crime than any other race of people in America. And I'll get back now to this arrests by population. As a total of the population over these 4 years, white people, 2.26% of their population was arrested. Asians, 0.53% of their population in America was arrested. And this is total arrests for violent and non-violent crime. Loitering up to first-degree murder. All arrests, anything in between. 0.53% Asians, 2.26% whites, black. 5.09% of their population was arrested on average over these 4 years for, as I said, anything from loitering up to murder.
Just double the white number.
That is more than double the white number of arrests. And some will say, and I've seen this claim, that, well, the arrests isn't an indicator of actual crimes committed. Then can you tell me any other better way to gauge that statistic? Because you have no way to refute that. This is the best that we have. The way that we can tabulate whether or not a crime was committed is whether or not someone was arrested for it. That's the best way that we have. Short of being in a total police state with cameras inside of our house, inside the cookie jar, looking at us all the time, there's really no other way to tabulate that. There's no way to dispute this and say that it's illegitimate, because this is the best that we have. This is the best that we can look at. And through all those, as I said earlier, the Washington Post, 2015 was the only year that there were more unarmed black men killed than unarmed white.
By 6.
In 2016, 20 unarmed white men, 18 unarmed black men. 2017, 25 unarmed white men, 20 unarmed black men. 2018, 22 white, 16 unarmed black. 2019, 16 unarmed white, 8 unarmed black. This year, 2020, as of right now, 7 unarmed white, 2 unarmed black men so far in 2020, and here we are in June.
Over 3 times the amount this year.
So far. And I mean, that is a little misleading, I guess, just because of the fact that it is so low. But last year, you look 16 to 8. That is double. That is double the number of white people killed than black people by police. 19 to 9 is the total unarmed. So there were 3 unarmed white women shot, 1 unarmed black woman who was shot last year in 2019. 19 to 9, white to black unarmed. And the totals are proportionate as well. For white and black total shootings, not just unarmed. 497 to 258 in 2015. 2016, 465 to 234 black. 2017, 459 to 223 white to black. 2018, 451 to 229 white to black. White to black 370 to 235. This year in 2020, 143 to 75.
But you see,
it's still double.
You can
there.
present these facts to them, and some of them might not know the facts, but there's probably a lot of people out there that do know the facts. But they are the pundits in the media, they are Democrats on Capitol Hill who are ignoring those facts because they want to play the race card and they want to play this game because they think that they can hurt Trump and the Republicans with it.
And that's really the bottom line of all this, and that's why that's why you see people in the media refuse to condemn these riots for what they are. They are riots. And they refuse to condemn them. It's all for political purposes, and that's what made me so angry. And if you saw me on Twitter about a week ago, almost exactly a week ago, it made me so angry because we know, a lot of people in the Republican Party, a lot of conservatives know that these rioters, the black community is being played. They are being played so badly right now for votes. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's political power. And we'll have to leave that conversation right here for right now. All of the links to the articles that we discussed are going to be down in the description. The statistics from the Washington Post and the FBI, I will leave those down below. Make sure to follow us on Twitter. We're at the CWire, capital TCNW. We've been very active. Thank you, Twitter Army. It's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of growth over the last week. It's been amazing. So thank you so much. For Logan, I am JD saying goodbye, God bless, and we will see you in the next episode. Oh, you outraged!